A lot of you watched Tiger King in the first month of the shutdowns. I could only take a few episodes of that, but I did dig into another Netflix series. I watched all of Waco over the course of a few nights, and boy, did I identify with all those poor people trapped inside a building wondering what the hell would happen. That was late April of 2020, and I'd already been self-quarantined for 6 weeks. 15 more weeks have passed since then, and now it seems as if California will never open up again. Nationally, we've had an incident of alleged police brutality that turned into riots. A miniature country was established in downtown Seattle and is now defunct in the wake of tragedy. Words have been struck from the language because they were said to be offensive. Statues were dragged down and destroyed. We've had a major recession and dove headlong into debt so massive that our grandchildren will be stuck with it. Murder hornets came, took one look at us and said, "We're out of here." The spring turned to summer and now into autumn. Sports teams are either playing to cardboard cutouts or canceling games in the cause of racial justice. Tens of thousands of businesses have suffocated under orders from their state and local governments, and everybody in the country is wearing cloth masks that make them look like they're about to pull a heist or convert to Islam. And still, my social media feed is full of people who act as if they simply cannot rejoin society until they are visited by angels, perhaps carrying a vaccine. Like the Branch Davidians waiting for David Koresh to finish interpreting the Seven Seals, liberal America is hunkered down in their little compounds, and they are perfectly ready to continue sheltering in place forever, or at least until they sit through the election results in November. At this point, it's turned into a never-ending religious ceremony, complete with 20 hand baptisms a day. They spritz with Purell like it's holy water. This is now, officially, a cult. And the people doubling down on self-quarantine are the Branch Covidians. By now, almost all of my liberal friends and acquaintances have lectured me about staying away from people. In their view, every time they cross the street on their evening walk to avoid passing too close to the unclean, they're performing a sacred duty, combating the invisible evil of coronavirus while signaling their virtue to the almighty gods of collectivism. They are like nuns in a remote abbey or monks in a cloister. But they're not tired of the sacrifice and self-deprivation. No, they're now habituated to it. More than that, they're now dependent on it. It's become their source of meaning. Like the Branch Davidians, who gave up everything to follow David Koresh, the Branch Covidians have given up seeing friends and family. Some have lost their jobs, their gigs, the patterns of their lives. At this point, they can never admit that they were wrong. The data is gradually proving that COVID-19 is not a unique threat to the survival of mankind, and that their beloved shutdowns have done unimaginable harm and very little good. So they hang grimly on, praying that their leaders will do something to prove that it was all worth it. Their suffering, at this point, is an extended plea to the democratic deities for some sort of redemption. They find themselves secretly hoping for a massive spike in deaths. The hand of almighty COVID striking down the sinners. Memorial Day, Independence Day, and now Labor Day have come and gone. And each time they've scowled at the TV, people out on the beach, out at the lake, having fun. These carefree revels struck the COVIDians like Sodom and Gomorrah, proof that America is a fallen world and that the pandemic is a plague come to smite the wicked. Oh my God! Look at those people moving around freely, laughing, throwing a frisbee, touching each other, and their faces are naked. For the Branch Covidians, the quarantine is their time of martyrdom. They will continue suffering until they kneel before the altar to receive a vaccination like early Christians taking communion bread. Unless that vaccine comes from Trump's people, in which case they'll return to the catacombs to await further revelation. Many smart people on the right have called leftism a godless religion. I have to agree. The entire oppression orthodoxy is a Bible in the making. Someday there will be the book of race, the book of feminism, the book of class struggle, the book of gay marriage, the book of transgender, the book of climate change. They are writing the origin story of a future megachurch. Once they have spread the word to the far corners of the world and evangelized every last soul, the scripture will be complete, and they will have proved that theirs is the only path to paradise. In the early years of every religion, there are atrocities committed. Moses didn't get to Canaan and find an empty promised land. No, it was full of Canaanites who had to be killed or enslaved. Muhammad slaughtered the Jewish tribe that wouldn't defend him against the Quraysh people of Mecca. Hell, the Bhagavad Gita opens with a battle scene. The point of that was to justify the inflicting of suffering and death as simply the living out of predetermined events. Hey, you gotta break some eggs, right? The Marxists of Black Lives Matter know that Stalin and Mao and Pol Pot killed millions. They don't see that as murder. They see that as creative destruction. The Branch Covidians have no quarrel with BLM. We need to understand that all of leftism is a creed without a guiding moral force. The spot where God should be standing is filled by the leftists themselves, a giant unthinking collective driven by an indistinct and ever-shifting desire to be important, to save the world from its sinful self without ever using the word sin. And as one by one, all over the country, small family businesses burn like villages on the arid plains of Mesopotamia, the Branch Covidians are sure that all of this will somehow prove to have been righteous. So stay out of their way. Their masks are now their holy garments, and your visible smile is the mark of the infidel.